Hi, everyone, this is the Encyclopedia channel. The book that this program interprets for you is 2 Awesome Hours, Science-Based Strategies to Harness Your Best Time and Get Your Most Important Work Done, a book about time management. Time management, no matter when, it is a particularly hot topic. We know that other resources are said to be scarce, but in fact most of them can be replaced or regenerated through indirect means. Only the resource of time is absolutely scarce and equal. Everyone has the same time, 24 hours a day. There are only 365 days in a year, and whoever can use these time more efficiently will of course gain more. So, how to manage time? What is the key to managing time? How to use time efficiently through physical performance? After listening to this episode, I hope it can inspire you all. Your work, hobbies, entertainment, being with your family, and realizing your ideals are all spent scooping water in a fixed time pool. If you scoop out a scoop, you will lose a scoop. How to distribute the scooped water is, of course, it's a very important question. It is because of the scarcity of time that various time management skills emerge endlessly. For example, most time management methods suggest that you make a schedule for yourself, list everything you need to do every day in 1234, write down what time and minutes you do, and then use your devilish self-control to implement it. That's right, it's best to write down how long everything took when it was executed. Is this method useful? Of course it is useful. There is a book called A Strange Life. The author of that book is Lubashev. He is a master of this time management method. From the age of 27, he will carry a time expenditure diary with him, and he will write down the time spent on everything to the second. It is this habit that he persisted in for 56 years. By the time of his death, his academic achievements were fruitful. It was really a strange life. This method of precise recording is useful, but even if we ordinary people have such convenient smartphones and various software for recording time at hand, there are very few of us who can do it. If you don't believe me, try to record the time you spend in a day with your mobile phone. You will feel that it is not an easy task to record a day, let alone persist for decades, so this method is not universal. There are also time management methods that suggest that you don't fight time. Let's change our style of play and focus on things. For example, the things to be done can be divided into 4 types. The first, urgent and important things. The second, urgent but not important things. The third, not urgent but important things. The fourth, both nothing urgent or important. These 4 sounds a bit convoluted, but they are actually easy to understand. It is suggested that we deal with important tasks first, and don't always be carried away by urgent matters. Because important things will accumulate more and more value over time, we'd better do things that can be friends with time first. This method also sounds right, but it is only instructive in principle, not practical. When doing things in normal times, no matter it is important or urgent, you still have to do it when things come to your head, and you can't escape. So what's different about this book? It does not address this issue from the perspective of time, nor from the importance of things, but from a completely new perspective, the perspective of physical efficiency, that is, when facing a thing, how can we adjust the body to a peak state, and then make efficient use of time? So the title of this book, The Most Important 2 Hours a Day, does not mean to find out the most important 2 hours a day, and other times are not important. It means how to mobilize yourself when you need it. The energy of the body quickly enters an efficient working state. Of course, this time can be 30 minutes, 2 hours or more. The author of this book is Josh Davis, who is a Ph.D. in psychology at Columbia University, focusing on the field of neurology. In this book, he gives 5 strategies to improve physical performance. Let's take a look at the 5 methods together. First part. Watch for pauses. What is a pause point? It is to stop for a while after finishing one thing and think about what to do next. This time gap is the pause point. Then you might say, what's so special about it? After finishing one thing, stop for a while. It goes without saying. Hey, don't underestimate this movement. This is the difference between ordinary people and masters. Many people are led away by the inertia of work because they ignore it. The author describes it like this: our life starts every day according to certain procedures, such as getting up in the morning, getting dressed, washing our face and brushing our teeth to go to work. These are all life procedures. After going to the company, we are led by a series of work procedures, one thing after another. I feel overwhelmed at the end of the day. In fact, looking back, it seems that I have not done the important things that I have always wanted to do, such as regularly maintaining relationships with friends I haven't seen for a long time, practicing skills that can help you in the long run, and learning new knowledge in a certain field. Less urgent but very important things. Only by continuing to do these things can life continue to transform. You see, all masters have this characteristic, that is, they must consciously control their movements. For example, when O'Sullivan is playing billiards, he will lie down and aim for a while. If he feels that he can't control the shot and doesn't feel it, then he will stop and get up and adjust before playing. When ordinary people play, they usually get down on the ground and take a shot. In fact, what is the difference between this shot and the previous shot? There is no difference, and they are all inefficient repetitions. Now there is also a saying called deliberate practice. It is mentioned that the essence of deliberate practice is to consciously control the object of practice. It can be improved. Where it can be improved, this is called effective practice, and your level can only be continuously improved in this mode. What I am most afraid of is the practice of constantly repeating wrong movements. Many people also encounter such a situation when facing career planning, that is, after resigning from one company, they quickly find a job in the next company. It seems to be quite hardworking, but in fact, the job I am looking for is not different from the last one. The same salary, the same job, and the same ability are used. This is actually repeating. At this time, experienced people will suggest, don't rush to find a job, give yourself 3 months to think about your next step, what ability you need to find a better job, and what kind of job can match your own, combining talents and interests, and thinking about where you really want to go before you act. It seems like a waste of 3 months, but it actually saves a lot of time than finding the same job for half a year and then resigning. On a larger scale, our lives are the same. Most of the time we are doing habitual actions unconsciously, so how to stop and get out of the automatic mode is very important. Once you finish a new task, don't jump right into the next one. Stop, drink a glass of water, take a break, take a step back and think about it, and consciously choose the next thing, which usually saves more time. This is the first point of achieving effective time management, finding the pause point. The second part. Manage mental energy. We all know that physical fitness will fluctuate. For example, if you have just climbed 20 floors, you may not want to move when you are sitting on a chair, and you have to slow down for a while to recover. In fact, mental power and physical power also fluctuate, but we don't usually feel it, mainly because the consumption of brain power is not as obvious as that of physical power. When you are physically exhausted, you will sweat, your heart will beat faster, and your limbs will become weak. These can be clearly felt, but when your brain is exhausted to a certain extent, it will be dull, dazed, and your attention will wander. If you don't have a very quick perception, it is not easy to find out. It is because these manifestations are not obvious and difficult to distinguish, so most people don't pay much attention to them, always thinking that their brain power can maintain the same level of agility all day long. In fact, brain power also fluctuates. On the one hand, it will fluctuate with time. Generally, when you first wake up in the morning, you are most energetic and your mind is most active, and you can maintain your vitality for about 2.5 hours. Afterwards, it is not easy to concentrate again. After eating at noon, the blood will flow to the stomach to digest the food, and the brain will feel drowsy due to lack of oxygen. At this time, if you can take a nap for 10 or 20 minutes, your energy will recover and you can maintain your vitality for 2.5 hours. This fluctuates according to time. Another aspect is to fluctuate according to the difficulty of doing things for you. For example, you have just finished writing a plan, and this plan made you think hard for a while. If you immediately devote yourself to the next task of thinking after finishing this, such as memorizing a paragraph of text, then you will feel very strenuous. The text has to be memorized many times before it can be remembered, because the more work that requires attention and creativity, the more brain power it consumes. The author's management of mental energy here means choosing tasks of corresponding difficulty according to the state of one's own brain. Get the hard, brain-intensive tasks done first in the morning when you have more energy, so you can move on to easier, repetitive tasks later. You may think this is quite simple, but in fact there is not much that can be done. How many people go to the company in the morning to browse moments for a while, then read the news for a while, and then answer a few emails? By the time they really want to go to work, 1/3 of their energy has been consumed. You may feel that you don't feel anything at all. This is actually the characteristic of the brain power consumption we mentioned earlier. It is not very obvious, but it will continue to consume. Some people are very focused on reducing this consumption. The author mentioned an example. If a friend of his has an important meeting the next day, he will consciously put himself into this state of making as few choices as possible from the night before, such as what to wear the next day. Clothes and breakfast are all prepared in advance. Of course, I try not to look at the phone as much as possible. My mind is just brewing the content of the meeting and constantly simulating it. His condition the next day is usually very good, giving people the feeling of being particularly confident and energetic, which is due to these subtle mental energy management skills. His friend usually doesn't seem to be very busy, but his net worth is several hundred million, which is the result of clever people's ingenuity. In fact, what we call the key time point does not need to be too long. It may need to be kept for about 2 hours a day to finish the most important things to you. So, mental energy management is a key skill that allows you to perform at your best in critical moments. The third part. Understand your attention. Why is it called understanding your attention? We usually think that the inability to concentrate for a long time is a defect. As long as we are distracted, we will habitually blame ourselves, right? The author said that in fact, our inability to concentrate for a long time is a characteristic of the brain itself and the result of evolution. If you think of a primitive man in the wilderness, if he could not see and hear all directions, he would have been eaten by other animals long ago, so allocating part of his attention to the external environment is an inherent property of the brain. It's a self-preservation mechanism, so the first thing to understand is not to blame yourself when you get distracted, because it's so normal. Then you might say, I have to keep my focus to finish my work. My thoughts are flying around, so I can't say that it's normal and I'm done. Here the author proposes 2 methods for us to deal with mind wandering. One is to let yourself take the initiative to distract yourself, that is, you focus for a while, and after about 20 minutes, you consciously do other things for a while to change your mind. For example, get up and walk, look at the scenery outside the window, tidy up the desktop, or listen to nursery rhymes. These tasks do not require much thinking. It is best not to do things that require working memory, such as reading the news, replying to emails, writing PPT, etc. If you do these things, it is not called changing your brain, it is still work, but it is just a multitasking switch to do it, so work efficiency will not increase, but it will make it more difficult for you to enter the working state just now. So pick some simple things and do them interspersed with work, which will make you more durable at work. Another way is to be aware of attention, which is to let your thoughts fly around, not to control it, not to try to pull it back, but to be more aware, to know where you are thinking, and then consciously find what your thoughts about what to do. It sounds a bit abstract. For example, if you are reading a book for a while, your thoughts drift away, and miscellaneous thoughts begin to appear in your head. At this time, you have to pay attention to these thoughts. An idea of yours is related to the work problem at hand, and this idea may be the source of your creativity to solve this problem. You see, this is how creativity happens. It is the combination of some wonderful ideas to produce new things. People who are too focused must not be very creative. Extraordinarily creative people like Einstein and Mozart have attention deficit disorder, but they can use these daydreaming characteristics of themselves to create great things. Work. So distraction isn't all bad, it's the fundamental mechanism that brings us to creativity. If you know about meditation, you will see that this method is what you do when you meditate. Many people think that meditation is just sitting there without thinking about anything, but it is not. Meditation is an act of observing your own thoughts. It looks very quiet, but it is actually an activity of the brain. However, it takes a certain amount of time to observe your thoughts. Exercising. As long as you can step back and observe your own thoughts, you can capture the inspiration that distraction brings to you. Distraction isn't all bad, and if your focus starts to wander, use that to inspire you instead of blaming yourself. Fourth part. Here to talk about control diet and exercise. This is easy to understand. We won't explain much about the ability of exercise to influence a person's thinking. A person in good physical condition can naturally think clearly and work efficiently. If you stay up all night and go to work the next day, your brain will definitely go on strike. Let's discuss here why many people just can't persist in exercising. In fact, it is because our expectations for exercising are too high. When it comes to exercise, many people will have a picture of holding dumbbells and sweating profusely in their heads. In fact, it is all excessive practice. If you want to lose weight and build muscle, then this kind of intensity exercise is necessary, but if you just want to maintain a healthy body, keep a clear mind, and perform better at work, you are actually more suitable for light exercise. Amount of exercise, such as brisk walking or other aerobic exercise. You will not be too tired to do these light exercises, and you may feel that your body is slightly warm after finishing, which will be very comfortable. If you make yourself too tired every time, it goes without saying that your body will start to resist this thing, and you have no clear purpose, such as keeping in shape for work like an actor. In the case of high-intensity training without strong motivation, it will be a matter of time before you give up. Therefore, light exercise is very important. It can make your body in the best condition, and the body will not compete for energy with the brain. This is very good for you to achieve an efficient working state. Another point is to eat strategically. We all know that the main energy source of the brain is glucose, so you may think that if I eat more sugar, I can maintain the energy supply of the brain. Actually, no, on the contrary, eating too much sugar will make you dull. If you eat sugar directly, you may feel full of energy for 15 minutes, but after 15 minutes, the glucose level will drop instantly, and you will feel groggy and tired. So if you want to keep your brain running efficiently, one of the most important tasks is to maintain a stable level of glucose in the blood. So how to keep it stable? There are two ways. One is to eat less and more meals, eat half full at a time, and eat more times a day. The other is not to eat foods with a lot of carbohydrates, such as desserts, bread, and French fries, and try to eat these things as little as possible, unless you just want to maintain 15 minutes of productive attention. We talked about the effect of exercise and diet on the efficient functioning of the brain. You may think that I usually know these things, and there is nothing new about it. In fact, the key is not whether this statement is new or not, but whether you can pay attention to it. Like the influence of exercise and diet, it is very subtle and cannot be felt intuitively. For example, you may not feel the reaction of your brain after eating a bunch of French fries, nor can you feel that your brain will become more sensitive after doing aerobic exercise. It is because the feeling is not obvious, so it is often overlooked. These details, which are usually common but often overlooked, are actually the key to allowing a person to perform at his best. The gap between people is not that big, and competitiveness comes from the control of details. If you want to have the critical 2 hours, a moderate exercise and strategic control of diet are the keys to improving performance. The fifth part. The last point is to make the environment work for you. The author divides the influencing factors of the environment into two types. One is the influence of noise, and the other is the influence of light. We all know that it is difficult for a person to maintain concentration in a noisy environment. The noise here does not refer to the kind of continuous sounds in the environment, such as the sound of fans and the sound of cars passing by. These continuous sounds actually have little effect. What I am most afraid of is the sound that is not loud but will appear intermittently, such as a train passing by suddenly, or your colleagues and other colleagues chatting in a low voice beside you, or something suddenly knocked over. Real noise, it's hard not to be drawn to it. Simply put, unexpected sounds are considered noises, so how to avoid them? If you're going to do creative work, it's best to find a quiet place to be alone, and don't expect to use your willpower to fight against the noise of the surrounding environment. As we said before, attention is born to respond to unexpected things. Reactive, so confrontation is useless. Find a quiet place, finish the core work, and do other work intermittently. If you want to perform very well in a certain period of time and get the critical 2 hours, then you should avoid letting yourself hear too much noise before, which is equivalent to clearing the cache for the brain and allowing the brain to go into battle easily. It will be very helpful for your performance. Light also has a big impact on how your brain works. After research, the author found that under the irradiation of blue and white light, a person will be very energetic, and his logical analysis ability and agility of thinking will be improved. Blue and white light is the color of the sky when the weather is sunny. To give a common example, for example, when you sleep, you open the curtains. When it is dawn, if it is sunny outside, you will naturally not be able to sleep, because our body it will respond to this light, so if you can't get out of bed in the morning, you might as well draw the curtains in advance and let the sun wake you up. In your workplace, hang a blue curtain, or set your computer desktop background to blue, so the little details keep your brain alive. This is to say that bright blue and white light is good for us to keep a clear mind. The study also found a phenomenon that dim light is good for creativity. Under dim light, people will relax and feel unrestrained, so their creativity will be greatly improved. So if you want to do some work that requires creativity, dim the lights, or find a dark corner. These can help you get results as soon as possible. Most of the time, we can't change the environment around us, but we can adjust some key elements to make the environment work for us. Things that can be controlled at hand, such as sound control and light adjustment, will actually bring great help to our work efficiency. These are things that we usually overlook, but the author pointed out their importance to us. This is the value that this book brings to us. It allows us to focus on those important but easily overlooked details. Now, let's review. This book gives 5 suggestions to make yourself the best when you need it. First, pay attention to the stopping point and carefully choose everything about yourself. Second, manage psychological energy, rationally allocate your energy. Third, understand the characteristics of attention, which cannot maintain an efficient state all the time, and learn to adapt to this characteristic. Fourth, control diet and exercise. Keep glucose stable, and keeping light exercise is an important way to get a good state. Fifth, let the environment serve you. Pay attention to the control of noise and light. If we control these things that are usually easily overlooked, the control over time will be greatly improved. No matter how you scoop water from the big pool of time, you can ensure that every spoonful is not wasted. This is time management from the perspective of physical efficiency. In fact, the secret of time management is not that every second counts, which will actually make your life more and more tense, and people will not be able to bear it. Its secret lies in the word immersion. It is a state of respecting what you are doing, enjoying what you are doing, and taking what you are doing seriously. It contains a kind of love for life and good expectations for the future. This is the end of this episode of the show. What do you think about it differently? Welcome to leave a message to discuss with everyone. Hey, if you like our channel, please subscribe us. Haha, remember to like it.